Maybe the janitor can fix it, since my IT department is completely useless. Athena Reiner's words hung in the air like a slap. 12 executives froze. The young IT specialist stopped breathing. But the janitor didn't flinch. He set down his mop, walked straight to the CEO's chair, sat down, and started typing. 5 minutes later, her billion-dollar system came back to life. But something else appeared on the screen. A hidden file. A ghost. "What is this?" Athena demanded. The janitor stood up, looked her dead in the eyes. "I wrote that code 7 years ago, before your CTO stole it from me." Then he walked out. "Where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments. Maybe the janitor can fix it." The words cut through the conference room like broken glass. Marcus Webb stopped emptying the recycling bin. His hands went still. His jaw tightened. 7 years of silence. 7 years of invisibility. 7 years of swallowing his pride and telling himself it didn't matter anymore. But this. Since apparently my entire IT department is just here for the free lattes, Athena Reiner finished, not even looking up from her phone. Nervous laughter rippled around the table. The young IT specialist, Kevin, his name tag said, turned red and stared at his shoes. 11 other executives sat frozen, grateful they weren't the target. Marcus gripped the edge of the trash can until his knuckles went white. "Walk away," he told himself. "You've done it 1,000 times. Just walk away." "Mr. Cole, wasn't it?" Athena's voice again. Sharp, amused. The voice of someone who had never been told no. Marcus looked up. "It's Webb, ma'am." "Whatever." She waved her hand like she was brushing away a fly. "Feel like playing technician today? Show my Ivy League IT team how a real genius works?" More laughter. Louder this time. Something cracked inside Marcus. Something old and tired and done with being invisible. He set down the trash bag. "I'll take a look," he said. The laughter died. Kevin actually snorted. "You're joking, right? This is a military-grade neural network. You can't just—" "Let him try." Athena leaned back in her chair, smiling like a cat watching a mouse. "This should be entertaining." Marcus walked to the head of the table. He pulled out Athena's chair, her chair, and sat down. Someone gasped. "Oh my God," a woman whispered. "He's actually doing it." Marcus ignored them. His fingers hovered over the keyboard for half a second, muscle memory waking up from a 7-year sleep. Then he started typing. The commands came back like old friends. System diagnostics, recovery protocols, backdoor pathways that most engineers didn't know existed. "What the hell is he doing?" Kevin pushed forward, squinting at the screen. "Those aren't standard commands. That's not even our operating language." Marcus kept typing. "You ran a beta OS update this morning," he said quietly. "Version 2.7.4. It's not compatible with your legacy neural drivers. That's why it crashed." Athena's smile flickered. "How do you know what version we're running?" "The error code." Marcus pointed at a string of numbers in the corner. First 3 digits identify the OS branch. Last 4 show the conflict source. His fingers moved faster now. Lines of code scrolled across the screen like rain. "There's a buried backup partition," he said. 3 layers deep. Your IT team probably doesn't even know it exists." Kevin's face went from red to white. 4 minutes and 37 seconds later, the screen bloomed to life. Fully restored. Project Althea files intact. $200 million saved. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Athena leaned forward, and her expression changed. Not impressed, not grateful. Suspicious. "What is that?" Marcus followed her gaze. A folder had appeared on the desktop. Simple black icon. No description. ArchiveX 9. His blood went cold. That's not supposed to be there, Athena said slowly. Kevin, is that one of ours? I've never seen that file before, Kevin's voice cracked. That's not from our system. Marcus knew he should stand up, walk away, disappear back into his gray uniform and his mop and his 7 years of carefully constructed invisibility. But his hand moved on its own. He clicked the folder. Green code exploded across the screen. Complex algorithms, neural pathways, adaptive learning protocols so sophisticated that Kevin actually stumbled backward. Holy shit, someone whispered. What is that? Marcus stared at the code. His code. The architecture he'd built, line by line, night after night, in a cramped apartment while Claire slept in the next room, and Emma kicked inside her belly, and everything still felt possible. Close it, Athena's voice was sharp. Now. Marcus didn't move. I said close it. He closed the file. Stood up slowly, pushed the chair back under the table. Then he looked at Athena Reiner. Really looked at her. For the first time in 7 years. That's your problem now, he said. Do you know what that was? Yes. Then tell me. Marcus held her gaze. The room was so quiet he could hear his own heartbeat. I wrote it, he said. 7 years ago, before your CTO stole it from me. He picked up his cleaning supplies and walked out of the conference room. Behind him, the silence exploded. Where is he? Carson Briggs burst through the conference room doors 45 minutes later. Tall, silver-haired, expensive suit. The kind of man who walked into rooms like he owned them, because usually he did. Where's the janitor? He demanded. Athena stood by the window, arms crossed, watching the city below. She didn't turn around. Gone, she said. Shift ended. What did he touch? My laptop. And? Now she turned. Her eyes were different, sharper. Like someone who had just found a crack in a foundation she thought was solid. And he fixed it, Carson. In 5 minutes. After your IT department couldn't figure it out for 3 days. Carson's jaw tightened. That system is proprietary. There's no way a janitor could. He also found something. Carson went very still. A file, Athena continued. Hidden. Buried deep in the architecture. Called Archive X9. The color drained from Carson's face. Just for a second. Just enough. Never heard of it, he said. Really? Athena walked toward him slowly. Because he seemed to know exactly what it was. Said he wrote it. 7 years ago. That's impossible. Is it? They stood 3 feet apart. The air between them felt like ice. Athena, Carson's voice softened, became smooth, reasonable. The voice he used in board meetings when investors asked uncomfortable questions. I don't know what this janitor told you, but I've been with this company for 7 years. I built our AI platform from the ground up. You've seen the work. You've seen the results. I've seen a file with metadata that doesn't match anything you've ever shown me. Metadata can be faked. Not this easily. Athena tilted her head. Who is Marcus Webb, Carson? Something flickered in his eyes. Fear? Anger? Both? I have no idea, he said. Then why did your face change when I said his name? Carson laughed. It sounded hollow. You're being paranoid. A janitor fixes your laptop, and suddenly I'm the enemy? This is ridiculous. Athena didn't smile. Maybe. Or maybe I've been trusting the wrong person for 7 years. Carson stepped closer. His voice dropped. Be very careful, Athena. You're talking about destroying careers based on the word of a custodial worker who probably has mental health issues. Is that really the hill you want to die on? I haven't decided yet. Athena walked past him toward the door. But I'm going to find out the truth. One way or another. She paused at the threshold. Oh, and Carson? If I find out you've been lying to me... She looked back over her shoulder. There won't be a corner of this industry where you can hide. She walked out. Carson stood alone in the empty conference room, his hands trembling at his sides. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. We have a problem, he said. The ghost is back. The apartment in Queens was small. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that barely fit 2 people. The wallpaper was peeling in the corners. The radiator made noises at night that sounded like old bones creaking. But it was home. Marcus unlocked the door at 6:47 p.m., same as every night. The smell of microwave mac and cheese hit him immediately. Daddy! Emma launched herself off the couch and slammed into his legs with enough force to almost knock him over. 7 years old, honey brown hair in messy pigtails, a gap where her front tooth used to be. Hey, baby girl. Marcus scooped her up and held her tight. How was school? Mrs. Patterson said my drawing was the best in the whole class. Yeah? What did you draw? Us? Emma pulled back and looked at him with Claire's eyes. You and me and the sun. I put a really big sun because you always say Mommy is watching us from up there. Marcus felt his throat tighten. That sounds beautiful, Em. I saved it for you. It's on the fridge. He carried her to the kitchen. There it was, held up by a magnet shaped like a pineapple. 2 stick figures holding hands under a giant yellow sun. Above them, in wobbly crayon letters, Daddy and Emma and Mommy in heaven. Heaven. She'd spelled it wrong, but that somehow made it more perfect. You like it? Emma asked, suddenly nervous. I love it. He kissed her forehead. It's going in my wallet. Really? Really, really. She grinned, that gap-toothed grin that could fix anything, and wriggled out of his arms to run back to the TV. Marcus stood in the kitchen, staring at the drawing, thinking about the file he'd seen today. The code he'd written when Claire was still alive, when Emma was still a dream, when he still believed technology could save the people he loved. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered it. Mr. Webb, Athena Reiner's voice, different now, controlled, but with an edge. I need you in my office, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. I work the night shift tomorrow. Not anymore. I'm making you a temporary reassignment. Technical consultant. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Why? Because I need to know if you're telling the truth. And if you are, she paused, then I need to know what else has been stolen from you. Marcus looked at the drawing on the fridge. Daddy and Emma and Mommy in heaven. I'll be there, he said. He hung up. Emma called from the living room. Daddy, can we have pancakes for dinner? Pancakes aren't dinner food, baby. Please, pretty please with extra sugar? Marcus smiled despite himself. Fine, but you're helping. Yes, Emma came running back. Can I crack the eggs? You always crack the eggs. Because I'm the best at it. The very best. They made pancakes together. Emma cracked the eggs, only one piece of shell this time. Marcus flipped them, only burned two. They ate at the tiny kitchen table while Emma told him about her friend Sophia and the class hamster, and how Tommy Perkins got in trouble for putting glue in someone's hair. Normal. Simple. Safe. But after Emma went to bed, after he read her 3 chapters of Charlotte's Web and checked under her bed for monsters, and left the hallway light on just the way she liked, Marcus sat alone in the dark living room and thought about what tomorrow would bring. 7 years ago, he had walked away from everything: his career, his code, his identity. He had become invisible because invisible was easier than feeling. But ghosts don't stay buried forever, and tomorrow he would have to decide: keep hiding or finally face the man who had stolen his life. He looked at Claire's photo on the bookshelf, young, smiling, her hand on her pregnant belly. "What do I do?" he whispered. The photo didn't answer, but somewhere deep inside, Marcus already knew. 7 a.m., 47th floor. Marcus stepped off the elevator in the same gray uniform, the same worn shoes, the same crooked name tag. The receptionist looked at him like he'd gotten off on the wrong floor. "Can I help you? I'm here to see Ms. Reiner. Do you have an appointment?" "She's expecting me." The receptionist's face said she doubted that very much, but she picked up the phone anyway. 30 seconds later, her expression changed completely. "Right this way, Mr. Webb." Athena's office was all glass and chrome and intimidation. She stood by the window, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up below. "Close the door," she said without turning around. Marcus did. "Sit." He remained standing. Now she turned, her eyes swept over him, the uniform, the work boots, the calloused hands, like she was trying to reconcile what she saw with what she'd learned. "I spent all night researching you," she said. "The real you." "And?" "And you're either a genius or a con artist." She set down her coffee. "Marcus Andrew Cole, not Webb. You changed your name when you took this job." "Yes." "Senior Neural Systems Engineer at Statera Labs. 4 patents, 3 published papers. One of the most promising minds in adaptive AI development." "That was a long time ago." 7 years. Athena walked toward him. "The same amount of time Carson Briggs has been my CTO. The same amount of time since Statera Labs collapsed. The same amount of time since—" She stopped. "Since your wife died." Marcus felt the words like a punch to the chest. He'd prepared himself for this, told himself he could handle it. He was wrong. "Her name was Claire," he said quietly. "She had a congenital heart condition. I was building that neural system to save her. Real-time monitoring, predictive intervention. The technology could have—" His voice cracked. "It should have worked. I tested it 1,000 times. But when it mattered, when she collapsed in our kitchen while I was at work reviewing code, it failed." Athena was silent. 2 weeks later, I found out that Carson had taken everything. My files, my research, my patents. He used the chaos of Statera's collapse to steal it all. And I was too broken to fight. "So, you became a janitor?" "I became invisible." Marcus looked at her. It was easier than remembering. Athena walked to her desk and picked up a tablet. She turned it toward him. On the screen was a legal document, the patent complaint he'd filed 7 years ago. "This is real," she said. "I had my lawyers verify it this morning." "I know it's real. I wrote it." "Then why did you abandon it?" "Because Claire was dead. Because Emma was 5 years old and needed a father, not a man drowning in lawsuits. Because every time I looked at that code, I saw my wife's face." Athena set down the tablet. For a long moment, she just looked at him. "What do you want, Marcus? Money? Revenge? Your name on a building?" "I want my daughter to know I tried." His voice was steady now. "I want her to grow up knowing her father wasn't just a janitor who gave up. That's all. That's everything." Athena nodded slowly. Something in her expression shifted, hardened, like a decision being made. "Then help me," she said. "Help me prove what Carson did. Help me fix this. Why do you care? You're a billionaire. Your company is worth more than some countries. Why risk all of that for a janitor?" "Because my father built this company on integrity." Athena's voice cracked for the first time. "And I just found out I've been running it on theft."
That's not who I want to be.
She extended her hand.
Partners?
Marcus looked at her hand, thought about Claire, thought about Emma, thought about the 7 years he'd spent hiding from himself. Then he shook it. "Partners," he said. Outside the window, the sun was rising over Manhattan. Inside the office, a ghost was finally coming back to life. And 3 floors below, Carson Briggs watched the security feed on his phone, his face twisted with fury. "You should have stayed invisible," he muttered. "Now I'm going to bury you for good." He made another call. "I need everything we have on Marcus Cole, every weakness, every secret, everything." The war had just begun. Carson Briggs had built his entire life on control. Control of information. Control of perception. Control of the narrative. For 7 years, he had been the untouchable CTO of Reiner Biotech, the genius behind their AI revolution, the man whose name appeared on patents and press releases and magazine covers. But control, he knew, was an illusion. And illusions only worked as long as no one looked too closely. Someone was looking now. He sat in his private office on the 44th floor, 3 levels below Athena's, scrolling through the file his contact had just sent. Marcus Andrew Cole, born 1974 in Philadelphia, graduated MIT with honors, married Claire Sullivan in 2011, daughter Emma, born 2019, wife deceased 2019. The same year Carson had joined Reiner Biotech. The same year Statera Labs had collapsed. The same year everything had come together so perfectly. He remembered Marcus Cole. Of course he did. The quiet engineer who worked late every night. The brilliant mind who never played office politics. The naive idealist who believed technology could save the world. The fool who had trusted him. "You should have stayed dead," Carson muttered, closing the file. His phone rang. Private number. "Tell me you have something," he said. "The daughter." The voice on the other end was flat, professional. "Emma Cole, 7 years old, attends PS 234 in Astoria, gets picked up at 3:15 every day, usually walks home with her father." Carson's grip tightened on the phone. "I didn't ask for that. You asked for leverage. That's leverage. I'm not threatening a child. Then what exactly do you want me to do?" Carson stood up and walked to the window. Below him, Manhattan stretched out like a circuit board, millions of lives flowing through its veins, none of them aware of the wars being fought in rooms like this. "The janitor," he said slowly. "Marcus. He has a weakness. Everyone does. Find it. Something I can use. Something that makes him look unstable, unreliable, dangerous. And if there's nothing, then create something." Carson's voice hardened. "He's been invisible for 7 years. Nobody knows who he really is. That's an advantage. A man with no history is a man with no credibility." "What about Reiner?" "Athena is complicated. She thinks she wants the truth, but she wants success more. If I can make Marcus look like a threat to the company, she'll cut him loose. Self-preservation always wins. And if she doesn't?" Carson turned away from the window. "Then I'll handle her too." He hung up. For 7 years, he had been careful, methodical, patient. He had buried every trace of Marcus Cole's work so deep that even the original engineers couldn't find it. He had built his reputation on stolen genius, and no one had ever questioned it. But ghosts had a way of coming back, and this ghost knew exactly where the bodies were buried. The first sign of trouble came 2 days later. Marcus was mopping the executive hallway. Athena had insisted he keep his normal routine while they gathered evidence, said it would look suspicious if he suddenly disappeared from his shift. When Kevin, the IT specialist, approached him, "You're him, aren't you?" Marcus kept mopping.
I'm who? The guy from the conference room. The one who fixed Athena's laptop.
"Just doing my job."
Bullshit.
Kevin stepped closer, lowering his voice.
I've been in this industry for 12 years. I know code when I see it. Those commands you used? That wasn't amateur stuff. That was architecture-level thinking. You're not a janitor.
Marcus finally looked up. Kevin's face was different than it had been in the conference room. Not embarrassed anymore. Curious. Maybe even impressed. "Does it matter?" Marcus asked. "It might." Kevin glanced around, making sure they were alone. "Look, I don't know what's going on between you and Athena, but I know something's happening. She's been pulling old files all week, metadata audits, security logs. She's looking for something." "Maybe you should ask her." "I'm asking you." Kevin's voice dropped even lower. "Carson came to me yesterday, asked me to run a background check on the custodial staff. Said it was a routine security sweep, but nothing about it felt routine." Marcus's hands tightened on the mop handle. "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. Yet." Kevin held his gaze. "But I'm going to need a reason not to." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Somewhere down the hall, a phone was ringing. "You ever do something you believed in," Marcus said slowly, "and watch someone else take credit for it?" Kevin's expression flickered. "Maybe." "Then you know what it feels like, to have your work stolen, your name erased, your whole career turned into someone else's success story. Is that what happened to you?" "That's exactly what happened to me." Marcus met his eyes. 7 years ago, I built something that could have changed the world, and the man who runs your IT department stole it while I was burying my wife." Kevin's face went pale. "Carson?" "Carson." The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled too tight.
Jesus, Kevin breathed. I always knew something was off about him. The way he talks about the AI architecture, like he invented it himself. But whenever anyone asks specific questions, he deflects. Every time. Kevin shook his head. "What do you need?" "I need you to keep doing your job. Don't raise any red flags. Don't let Carson know you're suspicious." "And then?" Marcus started mopping again. "And then the truth comes out, one way or another." Kevin nodded slowly. He started to walk away, then stopped. "Hey, what's your real name? Not Webb, your real name." Marcus looked at him. "Cole," he said. "Marcus Cole." Kevin repeated it under his breath, like he was committing it to memory. "Good luck, Marcus Cole." He walked away. Marcus watched him go, then pulled out his phone and sent a text to Athena. "Carson's making moves. We need to talk." The response came 30 seconds later. "My office, 1 hour." Athena was already pacing when Marcus arrived. He's running background checks on custodial staff, she said without preamble. My head of security told me this morning. Said Carson requested access to personnel files for routine verification.
"It's not routine."
Obviously.
She stopped pacing and faced him.
He knows, Marcus. He knows you're the threat.
"Good."
Good?
Athena's eyes widened.
How is that good? He's going to come after you. He's going to dig up everything he can find and use it to destroy your credibility."
"Let him dig." Marcus's voice was calm. Too calm. "He won't find anything."
"Everyone has something."
"I have a dead wife and a daughter I'm raising alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens. I have 7 years of mopping floors and taking out trash and being invisible. I have nothing, Athena. That's the only advantage I've got." Athena stared at him.
"You really don't care what happens to you, do you?"
"I care what happens to Emma. Everything else is negotiable." She was quiet for a moment.
Then she walked to her desk and pulled out a tablet. "I found something." Marcus stepped closer. "The metadata from Archive X9, she continued. "I had my lawyers run a deep audit. Chain of custody, timestamps, author signatures. It's all there. Your original credentials embedded in the code. eco_not_dev. That was your handle at Statera Labs, wasn't it?"
"Yes."
"It's unaltered, unchanged. Carson never thought to scrub it because he never thought anyone would look." She turned the tablet toward him. "This is proof, Marcus. Legal, verifiable proof that you wrote the original architecture." Marcus looked at the screen. Lines of code, metadata strings, digital fingerprints from another life.
"It's not enough," he said.
"What do you mean it's not enough? This is
evidence that I wrote something 7 years ago. It doesn't prove Carson stole it. It doesn't prove Reiner Biotech used it without authorization. A good lawyer would argue I sold the rights, or abandoned them, or that the code was modified beyond recognition." Athena's face fell.
"So what do we need?"
"We need Carson to admit it." Marcus looked at her. "On record, in his own words."
"He'll never do that."
"He will if he thinks he's already won." Athena frowned.
"What do you mean?"
"People like Carson, they're careful when they feel threatened. But when they think they're safe, when they think the danger has passed, that's when they get sloppy. That's when they brag."
"You want to make him think he's beaten you."
"I want him to think I've given up, that the pressure was too much, that I'm backing off."
"And then?"
Marcus smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. "And then we let him hang himself." That night, Marcus picked up Emma from after-school care at 5:30, same as always. She ran to him with her backpack bouncing and her ponytail flying, waving a piece of paper over her head.
Daddy, look!"
"What's this?"
"I got a gold star on my spelling test. Mrs.
Patterson said I got every word right."
Marcus scooped her up and spun her around. "That's my girl. Every word?"
"Every single one. Even necessary. That one's hard."
"That one is hard. I'm proud of you, Em." They walked home together, Emma chattering about her day, about Sophia's new shoes, about the class hamster who escaped and hid under the bookshelf. Marcus listened and nodded and asked questions, but part of his mind was somewhere else. Thinking about Carson. Thinking about what came next.
"Daddy?"
"Yeah, baby?"
"Are you okay? You have your worried face."
Marcus looked down at her. 7 years old, and she could already read him like a book. "I'm okay," he said. "Just thinking about work stuff."
"Janitor stuff?"
"Yeah, janitor stuff." Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said,
"Sophia's mom says janitors are really important. She says without janitors, everything would be dirty and gross and nobody could work."
"Sophia's mom sounds smart."
"She is. She's a doctor."
Emma looked up at him.
"But I think you're smarter than a doctor, Daddy."
Marcus's throat tightened. "Why do you think that?"
"Because you can fix anything. Remember when my bike broke and you fixed it in like 5 minutes? And when the TV stopped working and you did something with the wires and it came back on? You're really good at fixing things."
Some things, Marcus said quietly. Not everything. Most things. Emma squeezed his hand. I bet if Mommy's heart was a machine, you could have fixed it too. Marcus stopped walking. For a long moment, he couldn't speak. The words had hit him somewhere deep, somewhere he'd spent 7 years trying to protect. I'm not sad, Daddy. She looked up at him with Claire's eyes. I just think about her sometimes. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. He knelt down so they were eye level. I think about her too. Every day. Do you miss her? Every second. Emma nodded, like that made perfect sense.
I think she misses us too, she said. But I think she's happy that we're okay, that we have each other. Marcus pulled her into a hug, held her tight, breathed in the smell of her shampoo and her little girl's sweat and the crayon she'd somehow gotten in her hair. I love you, Em. I love you too, Daddy. They stayed like that for a long moment. Then Emma pulled back. Can we have pizza for dinner? Marcus laughed. Didn't we have pizza yesterday? That was different pizza. That was pepperoni. Tonight I want cheese. Just cheese? Cheese is the best one. You're the best one. Emma grinned. I know. They walked home, and Marcus made cheese pizza, and they watched a movie about a princess who saved her kingdom, and everything felt normal for a few hours. But after Emma went to bed, Marcus sat in the dark living room and looked at Claire's photograph. I'm going to fix this, he whispered. I'm going to make sure Emma knows who I really am, what I really built. I'm going to give her something to be proud of. The photograph didn't answer, but somehow, in the silence, Marcus felt like Claire was listening. The next morning, Marcus put his plan into action. He arrived at Reiner Biotech at his usual time, clocked in, started his normal rounds. But halfway through his shift, he stopped by Kevin's desk. I need you to do something for me. Kevin looked up. What? Leak something to Carson. Tell him I came to you asking questions about the archive files. Tell him I seemed scared, paranoid, like I was in over my head. You want me to make you look weak? I want Carson to think I'm backing off, that the pressure's getting to me. Kevin frowned. And then what? Then we wait. Marcus walked away before Kevin could ask any more questions. 2 days later, the trap was set. Carson called an emergency meeting with the executive team. Athena attended, playing her part perfectly. Concerned, uncertain, caught between loyalty to her CTO and suspicion about the janitor's claims. I want to address the rumors, Carson said, standing at the head of the conference table like a general addressing his troops. There have been accusations, implications, whispers about the origins of our AI architecture. He paused for effect. I want to be clear. Everything we've built at this company is the result of legitimate innovation. My innovation. The work I did at Statera Labs was foundational, yes. But it was my work. My research. My vision. What about the janitor? Someone asked. Marcus Webb? The one who fixed Athena's laptop? Carson smiled, the confident smile of a man who thought he'd already won. Marcus Webb, or whatever his real name is a troubled individual. A man who couldn't handle the pressure of real engineering work and retreated into custodial work. He's been making wild claims, trying to attach himself to our success. It's sad, really. Do you know him? Athena asked, her voice carefully neutral. I knew of him, at Statera. He was a junior engineer. Competent, but nothing special. Certainly not the genius he's claiming to be. And the code he wrote? Archive X9? Carson's smile flickered, just for a second. A collaborative project. Many people contributed. He may have written some lines, but the architecture,
The real innovation. That was mine.
Can you prove that?
Carson's eyes hardened. Can he prove otherwise? The meeting ended 20 minutes later. Carson left looking satisfied, victorious, like a man who had just secured his legacy. But he didn't see Kevin's phone recording under the table. And he didn't see Athena's smile as she walked out behind him. 3 hours later, Athena and Marcus met in a secure room on the 32nd floor. No cameras, no microphones. Just two people and the truth.
He admitted it, Athena said, playing back the recording. On tape, he called you a junior engineer, said you may have written some lines. That's an admission that you were involved.
It's not enough.
It's more than we had yesterday.
Marcus listened to the recording again. Carson's voice, smooth and confident, dismissing 7 years of his life's work as nothing special. He's lying, Marcus said quietly. And he knows he's lying. But he thinks he's safe now. He thinks I backed off.
So what's the next move?
Marcus looked at her. We need the original files, not the ones buried in your system, the ones Carson kept for himself, the backups he made when he stole my work.
How do you know he kept backups?
Because I know Carson. He's paranoid. He never destroys anything that might be useful later. He has copies somewhere. A personal drive, a private server, something. Athena's eyes widened.
His home office. He has a private network there. I've seen it. Can you get access?
Not legally. Marcus held her gaze.
Then I guess we do it the other way.
Athena was quiet for a long moment.
You're asking me to break into my own CTO's home?
I'm asking you to help me prove what he stole. The rest is up to you. She stared at him, the weight of the decision pressed down on her shoulders.
If we get caught,
we won't.
If we do,
then we go down fighting. But at least we go down honest. Athena closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something had changed. Something had hardened.
Friday night,
she said. Carson has a board dinner. He'll be out until at least 11. Friday night, Marcus repeated. They looked at each other. Two people standing on the edge of something that couldn't be undone.
Are you sure about this?
Athena asked. Marcus thought about Emma, about Claire, about 7 years of silence and invisibility and pretending that the past didn't matter.
I've never been more sure of anything in my life.
Friday night was 3 days away. 3 days to prepare. 3 days to plan. 3 days before everything changed forever. And somewhere in his corner office, Carson Briggs leaned back in his chair and smiled, convinced that the ghost had finally been laid to rest. He had no idea what was coming. Friday came faster than Marcus expected. He spent the 3 days doing exactly what he always did, mopping floors, emptying trash cans, being invisible. He smiled at executives who didn't see him. He nodded at security guards who forgot his face the moment he walked past. He played his role so perfectly that even he started to wonder if the janitor was the real Marcus Cole and the engineer was just a ghost. But at night, after Emma went to bed, he sat in the dark and planned. Every detail, every contingency, every possible way this could go wrong. There were a lot of ways it could go wrong.
Thursday night, his phone rang at 11:47 p.m.
Athena.
We have a problem.
Marcus sat up in bed. What kind of problem?
Carson changed his plans. The board dinner got moved to Saturday. He's staying home tomorrow night.
Marcus closed his eyes. 3 days of planning. Gone. Can we push to Saturday?
No. He's flying to Singapore Sunday morning. Some investor meeting. He'll be gone for 2 weeks. By the time he gets back, he'll have had time to cover his tracks, destroy evidence, build his defense.
So what do we do? Athena was quiet for a moment.
There's another option.
I'm listening.
Tomorrow afternoon, Carson has a meeting at the downtown office, 3 to 5 p.m. His house will be empty.
That's a 2-hour window, in daylight.
I know.
Athena,
I know.
her voice was tight.
But it's the only window we've got. If we don't do this tomorrow, we might never get another chance.
Marcus thought about Emma.
About what would happen to her if he got caught breaking into a multi-millionaire's home.
About the life she would have with her father in prison.
Then he thought about Claire. About the code he'd written to save her.
About the man who had stolen it while Marcus was too broken to fight back.
Tomorrow, he said. 3 p.m. I'll send you the address.
Athena.
Yeah?
Thank you for believing me. She was quiet for a moment. Then,
thank me when it's over.
She hung up. Marcus lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to Emma breathe in the next room. This was either going to save everything or destroy it. There was no middle ground. The next afternoon, Marcus stood across the street from Carson Briggs's brownstone in the Upper East Side. 4 stories of old money and new lies. Wrought iron gate, security cameras on every corner. A house that screamed success without ever mentioning how that success was built. His phone buzzed. Athena.
Carson just entered the meeting. You have 2 hours, maybe less. Marcus crossed the street. The security system was expensive but predictable.
Athena had given him the codes. She'd been to dinner parties here, knew the layout, knew where Carson kept his private office. 3rd floor, east corner. The room he never let guests enter. Marcus disabled the alarm in 47 seconds. Old skills coming back like muscle memory. The house was silent, empty. The kind of silence that rich people paid for. No traffic noise, no neighbors, no interruptions. Just the soft hum of climate control and the ticking of an antique clock. He moved quickly through the 1st floor, past the living room with its designer furniture, past the kitchen with its marble countertops, past the photographs on the walls. Carson shaking hands with politicians. Carson accepting awards. Carson standing next to Athena at company events. Lies. All of it. A life built on theft and deception.
The stairs creaked under Marcus's weight. He froze, listened, kept moving. 2nd floor. Guest bedrooms. A home gym. A bathroom bigger than Marcus's entire apartment.
3rd floor. The door to Carson's office was locked. Electronic keypad, 6-digit code. Marcus pulled out his phone and opened the app Kevin had given him. A bypass tool, technically illegal, the kind of thing that could send him to prison for a decade if anyone found out. He didn't hesitate. The lock clicked open. Carson's office was exactly what Marcus expected. Mahogany desk, leather chair, walls lined with patents and awards and photographs of a man who had never created anything original in his life. And in the corner, behind a false panel that Athena had told him about, a private server. Marcus pulled out the panel and found the hardware. 3 external drives connected to a secured network, password protected, encrypted, but not well enough. He plugged in his device and started copying files.
The progress bar moved slowly,
Too slowly, while the clock in his head counted down the minutes. 90 minutes left. Maybe. The files began to populate on his screen. Project names he didn't recognize. Financial documents. Email archives. And then, there it was. A folder labeled Statera_archive. Marcus opened it. Subfolders appeared, dozens of them. Research notes, development logs, patent applications. All of it time-stamped from 2015 to 2019. All of it bearing Marcus's original credentials. And buried at the bottom, a document that made his blood run cold. A CQACitian_Strady.docs. He opened it. The document was dated September 12th, 2019, 3 days before Claire died. It outlined, in Carson's own words, the plan to acquire Statera Labs' intellectual property during the company's collapse. It named specific files to target, specific patents to claim, specific engineers to discredit or buy off. And at the top of the target list, Marcus Cole. Neural architecture. Primary threat. Recommend elimination from industry. Marcus stared at the words. Elimination. Carson hadn't just stolen his work. He had systematically destroyed his career. Made sure no one would ever hire him again. Made sure he would disappear. And Marcus had made it easy. He had walked away. Given up. Become a janitor while Carson built an empire on his code. His hands were shaking. The progress bar showed 67% complete. 68 minutes left. "Come on," Marcus whispered. "Come on." His phone buzzed. Athena. "Meeting ended early. Carson's leaving. Get out now." Marcus's heart stopped. The progress bar showed 73%. He couldn't leave without the files. This was the only evidence, the only proof. Without it, Carson would bury him. 78%. He heard a car door slam outside. 83%. Footsteps on the front steps. 89%. The front door opened. 94%. "Hello?" Carson's voice, downstairs, getting closer. 97%. Marcus heard footsteps on the stairs, first floor to second. Getting louder. 99%. The progress bar froze. "No," Marcus breathed. "No, no, no." 100%. He ripped out the drive, shoved it in his pocket, closed the panel, and looked frantically around the room. No other exit, no window he could reach. One door, and Carson was coming up the stairs. Marcus did the only thing he could. He hid behind the door. The footsteps reached the third floor, paused, then continued toward the office. The door swung open. Carson walked in, phone pressed to his ear, completely unaware that Marcus was standing 2 feet behind him. "No, I understand," Carson was saying. "Tell the Singapore team I'll be there Sunday night. We'll finalize the contract then." He walked to his desk, sat down, kept talking. Marcus didn't breathe, didn't move, didn't exist. The board meeting went fine. Athena is still asking questions, but she doesn't have anything concrete. The janitor backed off, just like I predicted. Weak men always do. Marcus's jaw tightened.
Listen, I have to go. I'll call you from the airport. Carson hung up, set his phone on the desk, leaned back in his chair. Then he froze. His eyes had landed on something. The false panel. It wasn't closed all the way. What the? He stood up, walked toward the panel. Marcus knew he had about 3 seconds before Carson turned around and saw him. 3 seconds to decide what happened next. He could run, try to make it out before Carson reacted. He could hide, hope Carson didn't notice the slightly ajar panel. Or he could do what he should have done 7 years ago. He stepped out from behind the door. "Hello, Carson." Carson spun around. His face went white. "What? How did you—" "You left your alarm codes with Athena. Remember? All those dinner parties?" Carson's shock transformed into rage. "You broke into my house. I'll have you arrested. I'll—" "Call the police?" Marcus held up the drive.
I'm sure they'd love to see what's on this.
Carson's eyes locked onto the device. The blood drained from his face.
That's private property. It's evidence. Marcus stepped closer. 7 years of evidence, Carson. Everything you stole from me. Everything you lied about. Every person you destroyed to build your fake empire. You don't know what you're talking about. I read your acquisition strategy. Marcus's voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. You didn't just steal my code. You planned it. You targeted me specifically. You recommended my elimination from the industry. Carson's mask cracked. Just for a second. That wasn't... What? Personal? Marcus laughed bitterly. My wife was dying, Carson. I was trying to save her life. And while I was holding her hand in the hospital, you were picking through the wreckage of my career like a vulture. Your wife's death had nothing to do with me. No, but you made sure I couldn't recover from it. Marcus's voice broke. You took everything. My work, my reputation, my future. You left me with nothing. I left you with exactly what you deserved. Carson's voice turned cold. You were always weak, Marcus. Brilliant, yes, but weak. You didn't have the stomach for this industry, the politics, the competition. You wanted to save the world, but you didn't understand that the world doesn't want to be saved. It wants to be conquered. So you conquered it, with my code. I improved it. Carson stepped toward him. I took your theoretical nonsense and turned it into something real, something profitable, something that actually works. You should be thanking me. Thanking you? If it wasn't for me, your precious architecture would still be gathering dust in a collapsed startup. I made it matter. I gave it a legacy. You gave yourself a legacy, built on theft. Carson smiled, the smile of a man who still thought he was in control. Prove it. Marcus held up the drive again. I will. Carson lunged. He was faster than Marcus expected. His hand closed around Marcus's wrist, twisting hard, trying to pry the drive loose. You think you can destroy me? Carson snarled. You're a janitor, a nobody. Who's going to believe you? Marcus wrenched his arm free and shoved Carson backward. Athena believes me. Athena is a fool. She'll believe whatever protects her company. Then why are you so scared? Carson's face contorted. He grabbed a heavy award statue from his desk, some kind of industry achievement, brass and glass, solid enough to kill, and swung it at Marcus's head. Marcus ducked. The statue crashed into the wall, shattering. You should have stayed invisible, Carson screamed. You should have stayed dead. He swung again. Marcus caught his arm, twisted, and slammed him against the desk. I was dead, Marcus said, breathing hard. For 7 years, I was dead. But my daughter made me want to live again, and I'm not going back.
He released Carson and stepped back, still clutching the drive.
Carson slumped against the desk, defeated, his expensive suit wrinkled, his perfect hair disheveled. What do you want? He asked finally. Money? A settlement? Name your price. I don't want your money. Then what? Marcus looked at him, the man who had stolen his life, the man who had profited from his grief, the man who had turned his brilliance into someone else's fortune. I want my name back, Marcus said. I want the world to know what you did. And I want my daughter to grow up knowing her father wasn't a failure. He was just betrayed by someone he trusted. Carson's face twisted with contempt. You'll never prove anything. That drive is stolen property, inadmissible in court. Any lawyer worth a damn will tear your case apart. Maybe, Marcus smiled. But I don't need a court, Carson. I just need a journalist. One story. One headline, and your whole house of cards comes crashing down.
Carson went pale. You wouldn't. Watch me. Marcus walked toward the door. He was almost there when Carson spoke again. Emma. Marcus froze. What did you say? Emma. Carson's voice was smooth now, dangerous. 7 years old. PS 234. Gets out at 3:15. Usually walks home with her father. Marcus turned slowly. If you touch her, I'm not going to touch her. Carson stood up, brushing off his suit. But accidents happen, Marcus. Children wander into traffic. Schools have security breaches. The world is a dangerous place for little girls without powerful friends. The rage hit Marcus like a wave, hot, blinding, overwhelming. He crossed the room in 3 steps and grabbed Carson by the throat. If anything happens to my daughter, you'll what? Kill me? Carson laughed, even with Marcus's hand around his neck. Then you definitely go to prison, and Emma definitely grows up alone. Is that what you want? Marcus's grip tightened. He could feel Carson's pulse under his fingers. Fast, scared. The man was terrified, even if his voice pretended otherwise. It would be so easy. Just squeeze. Just a little longer. End this. End him. But then he saw Claire's face in his mind, heard her voice. Not like this, Marcus. Not this way. And he saw Emma, her gap-toothed smile, her crayon drawings, her voice saying, I think you're smarter than a doctor, Daddy. What would she think if her father became a murderer? He released Carson, stepped back. I'm not going to kill you, Marcus said quietly. I'm going to destroy you. Legally, publicly, completely. And when it's over, everyone will know exactly who you are. Carson rubbed his throat, gasping. You'll regret this. I already have a lot of regrets, Carson. Adding you to the list doesn't scare me. Marcus walked out of the office, down the stairs, and out the front door. He didn't look back. 20 minutes later, he was sitting in Athena's car 3 blocks away, the drive clutched in his trembling hands. Are you okay? Athena asked. He threatened Emma. Athena's face went cold. What? He knows where she goes to school, what time she gets out. He threatened her, Athena. He threatened my daughter. That son of a... She stopped herself, took a breath. We need to move faster. We need to go public, now. We can't. If we move too fast, he'll have time to spin it, make it look like a vendetta. We need the board first. We need them on our side before we go external. The board meeting is Monday. Then we present Monday. Marcus looked at her. But I need to protect Emma. I need to get her somewhere safe. Athena nodded. I have a friend, a family. They live upstate. Private property, security. Emma could stay there until this is over. You'd do that? Marcus. Athena put her hand on his arm. You've been fighting this battle alone for 7 years. You don't have to anymore. Marcus looked at the drive in his hands. Everything he needed. Everything Carson had stolen. Everything that could finally set the record straight. Thank you, he said. Don't thank me yet. This is about to get ugly. Uglier than hiding behind a door while Carson walked 3 feet past me? Athena almost smiled. How did you get out anyway? He was on the phone. Didn't see me. I waited until he sat down, then... Marcus shook his head. Honestly, I don't know. I just knew I couldn't leave without the evidence. And then? And then he noticed the panel, and I decided to stop hiding. Athena was quiet for a moment. What did it feel like, facing him after all these years? Marcus thought about it. The confrontation,
The confession. The moment Carson's mask finally cracked. "It felt like breathing again," he said. "For the first time in 7 years, it felt like I could finally breathe."
That night, Marcus held Emma tighter than usual during bedtime.
"Daddy, you're squishing me."
"Sorry, baby. Just really happy to see you."
"You see me every day."
"I know. But today felt different." Emma looked at him with Claire's eyes, curious, knowing.
"Are you scared about something?"
Marcus smiled. "A little, but it's going to be okay."
"How do you know?"
"Because I have you, and that makes me brave." Emma grinned.
"I make you brave?"
"The bravest."
"Then you should probably give me extra dessert tomorrow for being so helpful."
Marcus laughed. "Nice try."
"Worth a shot."
He kissed her forehead and turned off the light. "Good night, Em."
"Good night, Daddy."
He was almost at the door when her voice came again, small and quiet.
"Daddy?"
"Yeah?"
"Whatever you're scared of, I know you're going to fix it. You always fix things."
Marcus stood in the doorway, looking at his daughter in the dim glow of the hallway light. "I'm going to try," he whispered.
"You will. You're my daddy."
He closed the door. In 2 days, everything would change. The truth was finally going to come out, and Marcus Cole was done being invisible. Saturday morning, Marcus woke Emma before sunrise.
"Daddy, it's still dark."
"I know, baby. We're going on a little trip."
"A trip?"
Emma rubbed her eyes.
"Like a vacation?"
"Something like that. You're going to stay with some friends for a few days. Nice people. They have horses." Emma sat up immediately.
"Horses?"
"Real ones. You can ride them if you want."
"Can you come too?"
Marcus's throat tightened. "Not this time. I have some work stuff to finish. But I'll come get you as soon as I'm done. I promise." Emma looked at him with those eyes that saw everything.
"Is this about the scary thing?"
"What scary thing?"
"The thing that's making you worried. The thing you said was going to be okay."
Marcus knelt beside her bed. "Em, I need you to trust me. Can you do that?"
"I always trust you."
"Good, because I need you to be brave for a few days. Stay with these nice people. Be good. And know that everything I'm doing for us." Emma nodded slowly.
"Okay, Daddy."
"That's my girl." 2 hours later, Marcus watched Athena's driver take Emma up a long gravel road toward a farmhouse in the Hudson Valley. She waved at him from the back window until the car disappeared around a bend. He stood there for a long time, alone on the empty road, feeling like part of himself had just driven away. But he couldn't protect her and fight this battle at the same time. He had to choose. He chose to fight. Sunday was preparation. Marcus and Athena spent 12 hours in her private conference room, going through every file on the drive. Kevin joined them halfway through, his technical expertise helping them organize the evidence into a timeline that even a board member could understand.
"This is insane,"
Kevin said, scrolling through the documents.
"He kept everything. Emails,
Memos, development logs. It's like he wanted to get caught." "He never thought anyone would look," Athena said.
"He was too arrogant to imagine someone would actually challenge him."
"Or too confident that Marcus would stay invisible," Kevin added. He looked at Marcus. "No offense." "None taken. I was invisible. That was the point." "So what changed?" Marcus thought about the conference room, Athena's mocking words, the laptop that wouldn't turn on. "She asked me to fix something," he said. "And I remembered that I could." Kevin nodded slowly. "Hell of a way to make a comeback." By midnight, they had a presentation. 47 slides.
Financial records, code comparisons, metadata analysis. And at the center of it all, Carson's own words in his own documents, admitting what he had done. "It's bulletproof," Athena said, closing her laptop. "Even his allies on the board won't be able to ignore this." "He'll try to spin it," Marcus said. "He'll say I falsified the evidence, that I'm a disgruntled former employee with a vendetta. Let him try. I'll have our legal team authenticate every document before the meeting starts. By the time he opens his mouth, the board will already know he's lying." "And if they don't care?" Athena looked at him. "They'll care. This isn't just about ethics anymore. This is about liability. If it comes out that our core technology was stolen, every contract we've signed becomes vulnerable. Every investor becomes a potential plaintiff. The board will protect themselves first. That's how these people work. So we're appealing to their greed. We're appealing to their survival instinct. Same thing, different name." Marcus stood up and walked to the window. The city was dark, except for the scattered lights of people working late, living their lives, unaware of the war being fought in rooms like this. "What happens to Carson?" he asked. "After Monday?" "Immediate termination. Legal action. Criminal charges, if the DA decides to pursue. His career is over either way." "And if he runs?" "He won't. His ego won't let him. He'll show up Monday morning convinced he can talk his way out of this. That's the kind of man he is." Marcus turned back to her. "You sound like you've thought about this a lot." "I've had 7 years to watch him." Athena's voice hardened. 7 years of trusting someone who was lying to my face every single day. I don't make that mistake twice. I'm sorry. For what? For disrupting your company, your life, everything you built. Athena shook her head. You didn't disrupt anything. You showed me what was already broken. That's not a burden, Marcus. That's a gift. Monday morning arrived with the weight of everything that had been building for 7 years. Marcus put on his best clothes, a navy suit he'd bought for Claire's funeral and hadn't worn since. It still fit somehow. Tighter in some places, looser in others, but it fit. He looked at himself in the bathroom mirror and tried to see the man he used to be. The engineer, the innovator, the husband who believed technology could save the world. That man felt like a stranger now. But maybe strangers could become familiar again. Maybe the past didn't have to stay dead. His phone buzzed. Athena. Car's downstairs. It's time. Marcus took one last look in the mirror. For Claire, he whispered. For Emma. For everything we lost. Then he walked out the door. The boardroom on the 47th floor was already full when Marcus arrived. 12 members seated around the polished table. Legal counsel in the corners. A court reporter, Athena's idea to make everything official. And at the far end, calm as ice, Carson Briggs. He looked up when Marcus entered. Their eyes met. Carson smiled. The smile of a man who still thought he was going to win. Ladies and gentlemen, Athena said, standing at the head of the table. Thank you for coming on short notice. I've called this emergency session to address a matter of critical importance to our company's future. This is highly irregular, one of the board members said. We have protocols for these meetings. The protocols are suspended. What I'm about to show you requires immediate action. She pressed a button. The screen behind her lit up. Marcus Cole, neural architect. The real story behind Reiner Biotech's AI revolution. Murmurs rippled through the room. Carson's smile flickered. Over the past week, Athena continued, I've conducted an internal investigation into the origins of our core AI technology. What I found was deeply disturbing. She clicked to the next slide. Code comparisons, timestamps, author credentials. Our flagship neural architecture, the system that powers everything from our medical diagnostics to our predictive algorithms,
was not developed by Carson Briggs. It was developed by Marcus Cole, a former engineer at Statera Labs, and it was stolen during that company's collapse in 2019.
That's absurd, Carson said, his voice sharp. This is a fabrication, a conspiracy.
The metadata doesn't lie, Carson. Athena clicked again. The acquisition strategy document appeared on screen. This is a memo you wrote on September 12, 2019. It outlines your plan to acquire Statera's intellectual property through illegal means. It names specific files to target, specific engineers to discredit, including Marcus Cole, whom you recommended for elimination from the industry. The room went silent.
Where did you get that?
Carson's voice had changed, harder, more dangerous. From your private server, the one you thought no one knew about.
You broke into my home.
I conducted an investigation into corporate fraud. The evidence speaks for itself. Carson stood up, his chair scraping against the floor.
This is entrapment.
This is the truth. Marcus spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet, but it carried. 7 years ago, I built a neural learning system designed to save lives. I wrote every line of code. I filed every patent. And when my wife died and I was too broken to fight, you took everything. You have no proof. I have your own words. Marcus pointed at the screen. I have timestamps that predate your employment here. I have metadata embedded in code you never thought to scrub. I have 7 years of evidence that you built your entire career on my work. Your work? Carson laughed bitterly. You were a junior engineer who couldn't handle pressure. You collapsed when your wife died. You abandoned your career. You became a janitor. And now you expect this board to believe you're some kind of genius? I don't expect them to believe anything. Marcus held his gaze. I just expect them to look at the evidence and draw their own conclusions. The evidence is fabricated.
Then explain the author credentials. Marcus stepped closer.
eco_not_dev. That was my handle at Statera, my personal identifier. It's embedded in every file you stole, every line of code, every patent you claimed as your own. Carson's face went white. You can't prove. I already have. Marcus turned to the board. 7 years ago, I lost my wife to a heart condition. The system I built was supposed to save her. It failed, and I blamed myself. I walked away from everything because I couldn't face what I'd created. But walking away didn't change the truth. It just gave Carson time to bury it. He looked back at Carson. But ghosts don't stay buried. And neither does the truth. The room was silent for a long moment. Then one of the board members spoke. Mr. Briggs, is any of this true? Carson's jaw tightened. I refuse to dignify these accusations with a response. That's not an answer. The answer is that I've given 7 years of my life to this company. I've built systems that have saved thousands of lives. I've made this board richer than any of you ever dreamed. And now you want to throw all of that away because some janitor found some old files? Some old files that prove you committed fraud, another board member said. Alleged fraud, unverified, obtained through illegal means. The chain of custody has been authenticated, Athena said. Our legal team verified every document before this meeting. Everything you're seeing is admissible. Admissible, Carson laughed. This isn't a courtroom. This is a witch hunt. No, Marcus's voice cut through the room. This is accountability, something you've never had to face. Carson turned to him, eyes blazing. You think you've won? You think this changes anything? Even if they fire me, I'll be fine. I have money. I have connections. I have lawyers who will tie this up for years. But you? You're still a janitor. You're still nobody. And when this is over, You'll go back to mopping floors and pretending you matter. Maybe, Marcus nodded slowly. But my daughter will know the truth. She'll know her father built something that mattered. That's worth more than all your money and connections. Something shifted in the room. The board members exchanged glances. The calculation was happening in real time. Risk assessment, liability exposure, reputational damage, survival instinct, just like Athena had said. I move to suspend Carson Briggs effective immediately, one of the board members said, pending full investigation. Seconded. All in favor? Hands went up around the table, one by one. 9 out of 12. The motion carries. Carson stared at the raised hands, his face a mask of disbelief. You can't do this. It's done. Athena's voice was cold. Security will escort you out. Your access to all company systems has been revoked. Your office will be cleared by end of day. I built this company.
You stole this company. Athena stepped toward him. And now you're going to answer for it.
Carson looked around the room one last time, at the board members who wouldn't meet his eyes, at the lawyers already taking notes, at Marcus standing quietly in the corner. This isn't over, he said. Not by a long shot. Yes, it is. Marcus's voice was soft. You just don't know it yet. Carson turned and walked toward the door. Security guards flanked him on either side. At the threshold, he stopped and looked back. You know what the funny thing is, Marcus? That code you wrote, the system you built to save your wife, it worked. The neural architecture is flawless. If you just had the resources to test it properly, she might still be alive. Marcus felt the words like a knife. But you didn't have the resources. You didn't have the backing. You didn't have someone like me to make it real.
So she died, and you fell apart, and the best technology in the world sat collecting dust until I had the vision to do something with it. Get him out of here, Athena said sharply. Think about that, Marcus. Carson's voice echoed as security pulled him away. Think about what you could have saved if you'd just been stronger. The door closed behind him. The room was silent. Marcus stood frozen, Carson's words echoing in his skull. If you'd just been stronger, she might still be alive. Marcus? Athena's voice came from far away. Marcus? Are you okay? He couldn't answer. His legs felt weak, his vision blurred. 7 years of grief, 7 years of guilt, 7 years of wondering if he could have done something different, something better, something more. And now Carson had given voice to the question that had haunted him every single day. What if it was his fault? Marcus! Athena grabbed his arm. Look at me! Look at me! He focused on her face, her eyes.
He's trying to hurt you. That's what he does. He finds the wound and he twists the knife. Don't let him. What if he's right? He's not. But what if he's not? Athena's grip tightened. Listen to me. You built something beautiful. Something that could have changed the world. The failure wasn't yours. It was circumstance. It was timing. It was 1,000 factors you couldn't control. You did everything you could. You loved her. You tried to save her. That's not weakness, Marcus. That's humanity. Marcus felt tears burning in his eyes. I miss her so much. I know. Every day, every single day I think about what I could have done different. How I could have been there. How I could have... Stop! Athena's voice was firm, but gentle. You can't change the past, but you can shape the future. And right now, the future is waiting. Your daughter is waiting. And she needs a father who knows he did the right thing. Marcus took a deep breath, then another. Slowly, the fog lifted. Okay, he said. Okay.
Are you with me?
I'm with you, Athena nodded. Good, because we're not done yet.
3 hours later, the board issued a formal statement. Carson Briggs had been terminated for cause. All patents filed under his name would be subject to review. Marcus Cole would be recognized as the original architect of the company's core AI technology. But Marcus barely heard any of it. He was already in a car, heading north, toward a farmhouse in the Hudson Valley where his daughter was waiting. The drive took 2 hours. Marcus spent every minute of it thinking about what Carson had said. She might still be alive. He knew it wasn't true. He knew the prototype had been incomplete, the testing inadequate, the resources insufficient. He knew that no amount of genius could have overcome those obstacles in time. But knowing and believing were different things. And Marcus had spent 7 years believing he had failed her.
The car pulled up to the farmhouse at sunset. Marcus got out before it fully stopped.
"Daddy!"
Emma came running across the lawn, her hair flying, her face lit up with joy. He caught her in his arms and held her so tight he worried he might break her.
"I missed you,"
she said into his shoulder. "I missed you too, baby. So much."
"Did you fix the scary thing?"
Marcus pulled back and looked at her face. Claire's eyes. Claire's smile. Claire's spirit, alive and burning in this little girl. "Yeah," he said. "I fixed it."
"I knew you would," Emma grinned. "You always fix things."
"Not always."
"Most things. That's what counts."
Marcus laughed despite himself. "When did you get so smart?"
"I've always been smart, Daddy. You just didn't notice."
He hugged her again. "I notice now. I notice everything about you." That night, they lay in the guest bedroom together, Emma curled against his side, her breathing slow and steady.
"Daddy,
Yeah?
when we go home, can we get a dog?"
Marcus smiled in the darkness. "Maybe.
"A big one, with floppy ears."
We'll see."
"That means yes."
"That means maybe." Emma was quiet for a moment.
"Daddy,
"Yeah?"
I'm glad you're not scared anymore."
Marcus looked at the ceiling. "Who says I'm not scared?"
"Your face. It's different. Lighter."
He thought about Carson, about the boardroom, about 7 years of hiding and the moment he'd finally stepped into the light. "I'm still scared," he admitted. "But I think that's okay. Being scared means you care about something. And I care about a lot of things.
"Like me?"
Especially you." Emma snuggled closer.
"I care about you too, Daddy. More than horses. More than dogs with floppy ears. More than anything."
Marcus felt his heart crack open in the best possible way. "Go to sleep, Em."
"Okay."
A pause.
"Daddy,
"Yeah?"
I think Mommy would be really proud of you."
Marcus couldn't speak for a long moment.
"I hope so," he finally whispered. "I know so."
She fell asleep a few minutes later, her small hand clutching his shirt. Marcus lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Claire. Thinking about the code he'd written to save her. Thinking about the empire that had been built on his grief. And thinking, for the first time in 7 years, that maybe, just maybe, he had finally done something worthy of her memory. Outside, the stars wheeled slowly across the sky. Inside, a father and daughter slept peacefully. And somewhere in Manhattan, a former CTO sat alone in an empty apartment, staring at his phone, watching his entire world collapse. The truth had finally won. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of lawyers and depositions and reporters calling at all hours. 3 weeks of Marcus's face appearing on news sites and tech blogs and industry magazines. 3 weeks of the world finally learning the name it should have known 7 years ago. Marcus Cole, the real architect, the ghost who came back. But through all of it, Marcus kept his routine. He woke Emma up for school every morning, made her breakfast, walked her to the bus stop, picked her up at 3:15, made her dinner, read her stories, tucked her in. Some things were more important than headlines. "Daddy, why do people keep taking pictures of us?" They were walking home from school on a Tuesday afternoon when Emma asked the question. A photographer across the street had been following them for half a block, camera clicking. "Because something happened at my work," Marcus said. "Something big, and people want to know about it." "Are you famous now?" "I don't know about famous. Maybe a little known." "Like a superhero?" Marcus laughed. "Not exactly." "But you saved people, right? That's what Sophia's mom said. She said you made something that helps sick people get better." "I helped make it, a long time ago." "So you're like a doctor, superhero, engineer?" Emma nodded seriously. "That's pretty cool." "You think so?" "I know so." She squeezed his hand. "Can we get ice cream?" "It's Tuesday." "So?" "Ice cream is for weekends." "But you're famous now. Famous people get ice cream whenever they want." Marcus shook his head, smiling despite himself. "Fine. 1 scoop. 2 scoops. 1.5. Deal." They got ice cream at the place on the corner, the one Claire used to love. Marcus hadn't been there since she died. Walking through the door felt like stepping back in time. "This is good," Emma said, chocolate smeared across her chin. "Why don't we come here more?" "We used to, a long time ago." "With Mommy?" "Yeah, with Mommy." Emma nodded, licking her cone. "I bet she liked the chocolate too." "She did. It was her favorite." "Then it's my favorite now." Emma looked up at him. "That way, we match." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "That's a good idea, Em." "I have lots of good ideas. You just don't always listen." He laughed and wiped the chocolate off her chin. "I'm listening now." The call came that night, after Emma went to bed. Athena. "We need to talk. Can you come to the office tomorrow?" "Is something wrong?" "No, something's right. Very right. But I need to show you in person." Marcus arrived at Reiner Biotech the next morning at 9. He'd stopped wearing his janitor's uniform weeks ago, but walking through the lobby still felt strange. People looked at him differently now, nodded, smiled, whispered to each other as he passed. The invisible man wasn't invisible anymore. Athena was waiting in her office, but she wasn't alone. Kevin was there, along with Janelle from the data science team and Marco from engineering. They all stood when Marcus entered. "What's going on?" he asked. "We finished the audit," Athena said. "All of it. Every file, every patent, every line of code that Carson claimed as his own." "And?" Janelle stepped forward, holding a tablet. 83% of our core AI architecture traces directly back to your original work. The neural learning protocols, the adaptive monitoring systems, the predictive algorithms, all of it. 83%? The rest is incremental improvements made by our engineering team over the years. But the foundation, the actual innovation, that was all you. Marcus stared at the numbers on the screen. 7 years. 7 years of believing his work had been corrupted, bastardized, twisted into something unrecognizable. But it hadn't been. It was still there. Still his. Still doing exactly what he designed it to do. "The board wants to make it official," Athena said. "Full recognition. Your name on all the relevant patents. Retroactive credit for everything Carson stole." I don't care about credit.
I know you don't, but your daughter does.
Athena smiled. And so does history. We're also preparing a public launch of our next-generation platform,
The one built on your original architecture. The board wants to name it after you.
No, Athena blinked.
No? Name it after Emma. Your daughter?
She's the reason I kept going. The reason I didn't give up completely. The reason I'm standing here instead of still mopping floors. Marcus met her eyes. I didn't build that system for fame or money. I built it for Claire. And when Claire died, Emma became everything. So if you're going to name it after anyone, name it after her. Athena was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. The Emma Protocol. I like it. So do I. There's one more thing. Athena glanced at Kevin and the others. We'd like to offer you a position. Head of Ethical AI Development. You'd oversee all our neural architecture projects. Make sure we're building things the right way. For the right reasons. Marcus laughed.
You're offering a janitor a corner office?
I'm offering the most talented engineer I've ever met a chance to finish what he started. Athena stepped closer.
7 years ago, you built something that could change the world. Carson corrupted it, used it for profit instead of purpose. But the original vision, your vision, it's still there. I want to help you bring it back.
Marcus looked around the room. At Kevin, who had risked his job to help him. At Janelle and Marco, who had worked through the night to verify the evidence. At Athena, who had chosen truth over convenience. I have a condition, he said.
Name it.
I keep my night shift. Athena frowned.
Your what?
1 night a week, I go back to custodial work. Mopping floors, emptying trash, being invisible.
Why would you want that?
Marcus smiled. Because that's where I learned to listen, to watch, to understand how things really work. And I never want to forget what it feels like to be the person no one sees.
Athena stared at him for a long moment. You're serious?
Completely. She shook her head, but she was smiling.
Fine. 1 night a week, but you're using the executive bathroom.
Deal. They shook hands, and just like that, Marcus Cole was no longer a janitor. He was something more. The press conference was scheduled for the following Monday. Marcus spent the weekend preparing what he would say. He wrote drafts and threw them away, recorded himself and deleted the files, practiced in the mirror until Emma told him he looked weird and nervous.
Just say what you feel, Daddy.
What if I feel nervous?
Then say that. People like it when you're honest.
Since when are you a public speaking expert?
Since always. I'm very good at talking. Mrs. Patterson says I talk too much.
Mrs. Patterson is wrong. Emma grinned.
I know.
The night before the press conference, Marcus couldn't sleep.
He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had led to this moment.
Claire's diagnosis. The desperate race to build something that could save her. The late nights and early mornings, and the bone-deep exhaustion that came from loving someone so much you'd do anything to keep them alive. And then, the failure. The collapse. The 7 years of darkness that followed. He got up and walked to the living room. Claire's photograph set on the bookshelf, the same place it had been since the day she died.
I don't know if I can do this, he whispered.
The photograph didn't answer. It never did. Everyone's going to be watching, waiting for me to say something profound. But I'm not profound. I'm just a guy who built some code and lost everything, and spent 7 years hiding from the world. He sat down on the couch. I keep thinking about what Carson said, about how you might still be alive if I'd been stronger, smarter, better. And I know it's not true.
I know the technology wasn't ready.
But what if it was? What if I was just too scared to push harder?
What if... He stopped, took a breath. I'm tired of what ifs, Claire. I'm tired of living in the past. I'm tired of punishing myself for things I couldn't control. He looked at the photograph. Emma's amazing, by the way. She looks just like you. Talks like you, too. Never stops asking questions. Never stops believing in people. She told me today that I'm a superhero. Can you imagine? Me, a superhero. He laughed softly. I'm going to do this thing tomorrow, this press conference. I'm going to stand up in front of all those cameras and tell them the truth. Not because I want fame or recognition, but because Emma deserves to know who her father really is, what he really built, what he was willing to sacrifice. He stood up. I love you, Claire. I'll always love you. But I think it's time for me to stop dying and start living again. He kissed his fingers and pressed them against the photograph. Watch over us, okay? Then he went back to bed and slept better than he had in years. The press conference was held in the main auditorium of Reiner Biotech. 200 journalists, 50 cameras, live streams to half the tech world. Marcus stood backstage, his heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his teeth. You okay? Athena asked. No. Good. That means you're human. I'm going to throw up. Please don't. These floors just got cleaned. Marcus laughed despite himself. Was that a janitor joke? Too soon? Probably. The stage manager approached. 2 minutes, Mr. Cole. Marcus nodded. His hands were shaking. Hey, Athena grabbed his arm. You've got this. You've faced down Carson Briggs in his own house. You've survived 7 years of invisibility. You've raised an incredible daughter all by yourself. A room full of reporters is nothing compared to that.
You really believe that?
I really do. She squeezed his arm. Now go show them who you are. Marcus walked onto the stage. The lights were blinding. The cameras clicked and flashed. 200 faces stared up at him, waiting for something profound. He thought about Emma, about Claire, about everything he'd lost and everything he'd found. Then he opened his mouth and started to speak. My name is Marcus Cole. 7 years ago, I was an engineer. I built neural systems designed to save lives. And then I lost the person I loved most, and I stopped being anything at all. The room was silent. For 7 years, I mopped floors in this building. I emptied trash cans. I cleaned bathrooms. I became invisible, because invisible was easier than feeling, easier than remembering, easier than admitting that the technology I'd built hadn't been enough to save my wife. He paused. But last month, something changed. I fixed a laptop in a conference room, and a ghost from my past came back. A file I'd written, code I'd created, a piece of myself I thought was dead. He looked directly into the cameras. Carson Briggs stole my work. He built his career on my code, my patents, my ideas. For 7 years, he took credit for something he didn't create. And for 7 years, I let him. Because I was too broken to fight, too scared to face what I'd lost. His voice strengthened. But I have a daughter. Her name is Emma. She's 7 years old. She draws pictures of sunshine and believes her father can fix anything. And she deserves to know the truth. She deserves to know that her father wasn't a failure. He was just a man who loved too much and lost too hard. He felt tears burning in his eyes, but didn't wipe them away. The technology we're launching today, the Emma protocol, it's named after her. Not because she built it, but because she saved me. When I had nothing left, she gave me a reason to keep going. When I wanted to disappear forever, she made me want to be seen. He took a breath. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if this technology will change the world like I hoped it would. But I know this.
I'm done hiding. I'm done being invisible. And I'm done letting the past define who I am. He looked out at the crowd. My name is Marcus Cole. I'm an engineer, a father, a man who lost everything and found it again in the most unexpected place. And I'm just getting started. The room erupted in applause. After the press conference, Marcus found Emma waiting backstage. She'd come with Athena's driver, wearing her best dress and her biggest smile. "Daddy!" She ran to him and jumped into his arms. "You did it! You were on TV!" "You watched?" "Everyone watched. Sophia's mom recorded it. She said you were very brave." "I was very scared." "That's what makes it brave." Emma pulled back and looked at him.
Daddy, did you mean what you said? About me saving you?
Marcus felt his heart crack open. "Every word, Em. Every single word."
I didn't know I was saving you. I was just being me.
"That's exactly what saved me." Emma hugged him tight.
I love you, Daddy.
"I love you too, baby. More than anything." 6 months later, the Emma protocol launched worldwide. It was everything Marcus had dreamed of and more. Hospitals across the country began using the adaptive monitoring system. Lives were saved. Families were spared the grief that Marcus had carried for 7 years. The technology worked. Claire would have been proud. Marcus kept his promise. One night a week, he put on his old gray uniform and mopped floors. The other employees thought he was crazy. Some of them laughed. But Marcus didn't care. Those hours in the quiet hallways, pushing his cart through empty offices, were the hours when he thought most clearly, when he remembered who he was and where he'd come from. When he made sure he never forgot what it felt like to be invisible. Emma turned 8 on a sunny Saturday in April. Marcus threw her a party at the apartment. Just a few friends from school, some pizza, a cake shaped like a horse. "Make a wish, Em." She closed her eyes, thought for a long moment, then blew out the candles. "What did you wish for?" "I can't tell you. It won't come true." "Fair enough." Later that night, after the guests had left and the cake was reduced to crumbs, Emma sat on the couch next to Marcus, her head resting against his shoulder. "Daddy?" "Yeah?" "I want to tell you my wish now." "I thought you couldn't tell me." "I changed my mind." She looked up at him. "I wished that you would always be happy, like you are now, not sad like you used to be." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I used to be sad?" "Sometimes, when you thought I wasn't looking. But now you smile more, laugh more. You're different."
Good different or bad different? Good different. Emma snuggled closer. The best different.
Marcus kissed the top of her head. "You know what, Em?"
"What?"
"I think your wish already came true." Athena stopped by the apartment the following week. She'd never been there before. The narrow hallway, the creaky stairs, the door that stuck when you tried to open it. All of it was a far cry from her penthouse office. But she didn't seem to notice. "So this is where the genius lives," she said, looking around. "This is where the former janitor lives. The genius is still under construction." Athena laughed. "Fair enough." She handed him an envelope. "This came for you. I thought you'd want to see it in person." Marcus opened it. Inside was a letter from the National Institute of Health, a formal commendation for his work on the Emma protocol, recognition of his contribution to medical science, an invitation to speak at their annual conference.
It's just the beginning.
Athena sat down on the couch. "There's talk of a Nobel nomination. Not confirmed yet, but the committee has been asking questions." "A Nobel Prize? For a janitor?" "For an engineer. For a father. For a man who built something beautiful out of his own grief."
Athena met his eyes. "You deserve this, Marcus. All of it." Marcus looked at the letter for a long moment. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "I spent 7 years wishing I could disappear, wishing I could erase myself from the world. And now everyone wants to see me, hear from me, know my story." "That's how it works sometimes. The people who want attention the least are often the ones who deserve it the most." "Is that a business philosophy?" "It's a life philosophy." Athena stood up. "I should go, but I wanted to tell you something before I left." "What?" "Thank you." Her voice softened. "For showing me what integrity looks like. For reminding me why my father built this company in the first place. For not letting me become another Carson. You were never going to become Carson." "Maybe, maybe not." She smiled. "But you made sure I didn't have to find out." She left a few minutes later. Marcus sat alone in the quiet apartment, holding the letter, thinking about everything that had changed. A year ago, he was invisible. A ghost mopping floors and emptying trash cans, pretending the past didn't exist. Now he was on the cover of magazines, invited to speak at conferences, nominated for awards. But none of that mattered as much as the sound of Emma's footsteps coming down the hallway. "Daddy, I finished my homework. Can we watch a movie?" "What movie?" "The one about the princess who saves her kingdom." "We've watched that 3 times this month." "Because it's the best one." Emma jumped onto the couch beside him. "What's that letter?" "Some people want to give me an award."
For what? For building something that helps people.
Emma nodded seriously.
That makes sense. You're very good at building things.
"Thank you, Em."
You're welcome.
She grabbed the remote.
Can we watch the movie now?
"Sure."
And can we have popcorn?
"It's almost bedtime."
Please. Award winners get popcorn.
Marcus laughed. "Fine, but just a small bowl."
Medium bowl.
"Small."
Small, medium.
"Deal." They made popcorn and watched the movie and fell asleep on the couch together, Emma's head on Marcus's shoulder, the credits rolling on the TV. And somewhere above them, Marcus liked to think, Claire was watching, smiling, proud of the man he'd become and the daughter they'd made together. The next morning, Marcus woke up early and walked to the window. The sun was rising over Queens, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The city was waking up, traffic starting to flow, people heading to work, to school, to wherever their lives took them. 7 years ago, Marcus had wanted to disappear from this world. Now he wanted to be part of it, to build things, to help people, to raise his daughter and honor his wife's memory and make something good out of all the pain. Emma padded up beside him, still half asleep, and slipped her hand into his.
What are you looking at, Daddy?
The sunrise.
It's pretty.
It is.
Mommy would have liked it.
She would have loved it. Emma squeezed his hand.
Daddy?
Yeah?
I'm glad you're not invisible anymore.
Marcus looked down at his daughter. Claire's eyes, Claire's smile, Claire's heart beating inside a 7-year-old girl who had saved him without even knowing it. Me too, Em, he said. Me too. They stood together and watched the sun rise over the city, father and daughter, two people who had lost everything and found each other. The past was behind them. The future was waiting. And Marcus Cole was finally ready to step into the life. Because some stories don't end with tragedy. Some stories end with a man who was broken, finding a way to be whole again. Some stories end with a daughter who believed in her father, even when he couldn't believe in himself. Some stories end with hope. And this one,
This story of a janitor who touched one key and silenced a CEO, who lost his wife and found his purpose, who was invisible for 7 years and then became impossible to ignore. This story ends with the only truth that ever mattered. Love is stronger than loss. Truth is stronger than lies. And even the most broken things can shine again. The end.